What is up, YouTube? This is the start of episode 15. If you haven't seen the previous ones, feel free to check in the description below, and we're just going to get right into it. So we've got Marionette, the normal gym leader. Pretty exciting stuff here. It seems like this would be a really easy game since, Rock generally destroys normal, resisting all of its moves and everything like that. But this ended up not being the easiest game. So I lead with Enigma and do a ton of damage to the Wigglytuff. It goes for Fairy Beam, just doing a little bit, and I'm able to 2-hit KO this. So pretty helpful here. I'm able to make him continuously use Hyper Potions, which helps later in the game. That way she's not using them on more important Pokemon. I get a crit there, which doesn't matter since she's just going to Hyper Potion. Pretty soon she's going to stop Hyper Potioning, which is helpful for me, which is this turn. So I'm able to take out the Wigglytuff, only taking a little bit of damage on my Enigma. Wigglytuff's not a huge threat though, so I wasn't too worried about that thing. And comes Cinccino, which is a real threat because with its Skill Link ability, it breaks Sturdy, and with Bullet Seed, it, destroys my team basically. So I'm going to go into my Probo Pass here, and it's actually a damage roll whether this kills me or not after he gets the 5 hits with Bullet Seed. And if I'm able to live, I can get off with Thunder Wave. And luckily I live with 3 HP, so pretty lucky there. And I'm able to get off with Thunder Wave. And since it's slower now, it's a lot easier to deal with. I'm just going to get up a Sandstorm, I think. That way I can whittle everything on his team, as well as increase my special defense. I'm also considering just going for the Power Gym to just get a little bit of damage, which ends up not being too much. But I figured it'll do more. It'll bring it closer to the range in which another Pokemon can take it out. So I do that. Go back into Enigma. It's one of my strongest attackers and my highest level at level 36. So I go right into it, and unfortunately, that doesn't work out too well because Enigma decides not to obey me, so he's able to just U-turn on out of there. He doesn't go for Bullet Seed because he's got the super effective U-turn, and out comes Slacking. Another pretty threatening Pokemon, but it's pretty easy to exploit. So I go into Brad, and on the Night Slash, and now I'm considering if I want to. Well, I can set up Reflect here because he's going to be loafing around since his ability. But I decided to go for the Stealth Rocks, and since I'm a Rock type, I figured he'd go for the Earthquake. So I go into Enigma, and that works out well. So I'm able to get a free hit off here, or switch out to take advantage of the fact that he's going to be loafing around next turn. So I decided to do that. So now I get the free switch into Kaylee without taking any damage, and I can go right back into Enigma, once again predicting the Earthquake, as that is what happens. And here I'm able to Hypnosis, take the free opportunity I have, put this thing to sleep, and luckily I do hit. So now I can go into another Pokemon to threaten this thing before it wakes up and destroys my life basically. So I'm contemplating which Pokemon to go into. Luckily, since Sturdy is still intact, if he does wake up, I'll at least still have Kaylee alive. So he is faster than me, of course. I'm able to go for the Magnitude as he stays asleep another turn. That does absolutely nothing. And with Leftovers, this thing is looking like a major pain to take out. So I'm just going to go for Magnitude again, hopefully get a higher roll. And I hit a 6 here, which is pretty low. But luckily, he does stay asleep another turn. Don't get a crit. He gets lefties. Not looking too good, but I'm going to click this again as he goes for Retaliate, which is kind of interesting. Not Earthquake, which would be super effective. So playing a little bit unpredictable here. But he is going to be loafing around next turn, so I get another free hit. And I can handle that however I want. So I go for the Magnitude. I get another 6. Pretty low rolls here, between 6 and 7, like average to slightly below average. And here I'm going to switch out, predicting the Earthquake, go into Enigma. Pretty much hoping that he goes for the Earthquake, as I do predict right, luckily. So he goes for the Earthquake, and this gives me a free opportunity to put him back to sleep. I'm whittling him down little by little, but this still isn't looking too good for me. So I do hit the Hypnosis again, only 55% accurate, or 60%. I'm pretty sure it's 60% actually. Sorry. So pretty fortunate there to hit 2 in a row. And I'm going to go into Jimmy to start threatening him. Since my Sturdy is still intact, I know this is that I don't have to worry about him waking up and Earthquaking me too bad. So I'm just going to go for Magnitudes here, hopefully get a higher roll. And I hit a 7, which is pretty, decent. And I luckily get a crit. So now he's at around half health. And he wakes up, goes for the Earthquake, and breaks my Sturdy pretty bad. Go for Magnitude, get 6. Again, pretty low, pretty annoyed right now, but maybe he's in range of Explosion, maybe he needs a little bit more damage. So I'm just going to go for it. I think it's probably my best play. If it doesn't kill, then I'll have something else to take him out, as long as he doesn't Hyper Potion, and I crit. So that crit may have very well mattered. I'm not totally sure. Possibly, probably mattered. Anyways, I finally got rid of that huge threat. Ended up really causing my team issues. And now, on the double down, I'm thinking of going into Enigma just because it's pretty fast and it can put things to sleep. But Brad isn't a bad play either, because I can always just reflect and just let him die, and that way I can get like the switch advantage. And Kaylee is also really bulky, so I can pretty much take on a lot of his mons. So I decided to go into Kaylee because it beats most of his Pokemon 1v1, as he does go into Cinccino, and since I know he's going to go for the Bullet Seed, but he's paralyzed, I know I can probably outspeed him. So I know Mr. Krabs might be able to take him on, but I decided to just stay in here. I should be able to outspeed him. I should be able to take him out with Rock Blast. I go get 1 hit, 2 hits, and 3 hits, and I'm able to take him out. Really lucky that I got 3 there, just barely. Gain all the experience, and out comes Ambipom. This thing generally doesn't do too well against rock teams, so I'm thinking this might be an opportunity for Brad to set up a Reflect, give me a better matchup against the rest of his team. Luckily the Stealth Rocks are doing good damage to his whole team. So he goes for Fake Out, and that doesn't do a whole lot. I might be able to take a return after this. I'm going to try. And luckily, he actually goes for Multi-Pulse, and that makes it so he's slower than me, and I get an attack off, which is pretty nice. So I go for Smackdown here, and it does nothing. I see Multi-Pulses again, so now it's getting kind of scary. I didn't think Ambipom would set up. It's not a mon that typically does that, so I'm getting kind of worried now. I'm thinking maybe he'll go for another Multi-Pulse. I go straight into Kaylee here, trying to see what he wants to do, and he does go for another Multi-Pulse. So now he's at +3 attack, but I do have +1 defense, and I should be able to take him on pretty well. So I'm just going to go for the Bulldoze to lower down his speed, in case I need to take him out with Enigma, depending on how strong he was. He goes for Feint Attack, and it doesn't look to be a 2-hit KO, as it's not. Rock Blast is able to do 1, 2, and 3 hits, which is able to take him out. Lucky for me. Kaylee is severely weakened, though, as Kaylee gains level 36, and now he's going to send out Swellow. So I have Mr. Krabs at full health, which is probably going to be my win condition. Trying to decide if I want to go out to that or a different Pokemon. I know his Swellow is likely Toxic Orb with Guts, so it's a Pokemon that'll take a lot of recoil damage, and it's good if I can wear it down. So I decided to go into Brad just to force this thing's Toxic Orb to activate, and I'll try to get up another Reflect. Let's see if I can do it. And I'm not able to. Guts Swellow is pretty strong, with all things considered. So I still have Mr. Krabs at full health, and this thing's going to get bloated by poison. So I'm hoping that I should be able to take it down with the Rock Slide, and if not, I can bring it in range to where it dies to poison. But luckily he makes a big misplay here, and he U-turns into Pyroar, basically just sacking it. So it gets outcoded by the rocks. Gets outcoded by Rock Slide after Rock's damage, and now he's got to switch back in on Rocks, taking another 25%. So I'll allow him to do that, and this is her last Pokemon, so pretty good for me. At this point, I might even just be able to Toxic Stall. So I figure I can take 1 hit no matter what. So he goes for Brave Bird, does a ton, but he takes a ton from recoil, so that makes it so I can take him out with Rock Slide. Very fortunate for me. So that is the normal gym leader taken out there. Not too difficult, but that slacking definitely required some luck on my part. And the Cinccino also required luck because I had to get the Thunder Wave off. Next up, we have Apprentice Nim. He ends up leading Solrock and Lunatone as I lead Solrock and Crustal. Not a bad lead matchup here, because Crustal threatens these two pretty well with the Bug move. And I can potentially put something to sleep or just get damage with Stone Edge. So I decided to get damage with Stone Edge. I hit Solrock because I knew I could take out the Lunatone with a X-Scissor, and I luckily get a crit there, so I got to send out a Graveler here, as he has his Malamar out, which is times 4 weak to Bug, but my Bug Pokemon unfortunately died. So I can just go for Earthquake here since I have a Levitator here. I go for Stone Edge, it's not able to take him out, Luckily, he does not have the contrary ability, and he is still able to take me out by double targeting my golem. So I'm going to send out another golem, and feel like I can pretty safely go for either an earthquake. Yeah, I should be able to go for an earthquake and then just take out the soul rock with another stone edge. Luckily, I do hit. And here comes Duosion. He goes for the Psycho Cut, but his attack's been lowered, so it's not as threatening. And I can just go for another earthquake and a stone edge, doing a ton of damage to that Duosion. And I'm able to take both of them out with earthquake. So Enigma and Jimmy making a pretty good combo here, being able to just earthquake everything pretty much. So he goes for Thunderbolt, gets the para, but I'm still able to take him out with the combination of Stone Edge and Earthquake. And that is him defeated. Next up, we have found the root fossil for Anorith. Can't wait to revive him. And next up, we are fighting Maidalis, the Zen operative. So she leads Houndoom as I lead Mr. Krabs, the Crustal. He has a decent matchup here, but he does take neutral from fire instead of resisting it. So I figure going into Amy straight away might be a better idea, just because this thing could be pretty threatening, and I'd like to see what he'd go for, even if Amy ends up being a sack. He does go for the Iron Tail and misses, so that's pretty fortunate for me. Wouldn't have taken me out anyways. As you'll see here, he goes for another one, and I'm able to live it. I go for the Rock Blast. I crit the first one, the first hit of the Rock Blast, and I actually end up critting the second one, so 2 crits in a row, and I'm even able to get off a third hit. But that only brings him to red health, and it's not even to kill him even after 2 crits. Being that Houndoom isn't the bulkiest, that's kind of disappointing, but he is 7 levels higher than me, so it's reasonable. I unfortunately go for Smackdown here. Maybe Rock Blast would have been a better play, predicting the Hyper Potion, but I wasn't really thinking that there would be a Hyper Potion this early on. Anyways, I'm taken out there, but I'm able to weaken the Houndoom, and I know that Kaylee can take a hit and retaliate with Earthquake, which she learned at level 40. So I'm able to do that, able to take out the Houndoom. Pretty helpful. 1 down, 5 to go. And Sharpedo, another very threatening Pokemon, is about to come out. So I know Mr. Krabs can take it on if he was faster, but since he's not faster, I'm gonna go into Courtney first and Thunderwave, as he actually goes for Dive, and I know I can take that hit, so I'm not too worried here. I'm just gonna go for Thunderwave again as he comes up. Dive knocks me down to 9 HP, which is fine. And I go for Discharge just to do some damage. It actually does a pretty decent amount as he dives again. So luckily, hopefully I can get a full para here. I go for Discharge and I don't get the full para. That's fine. I am faster than it now with pretty much my whole team, since its speed is divided by 4. So I can go into Mr. Krabs and take him out with an X-Scissor. So that is what I do. He actually ends up going for Aqua Jet, I assume, but he gets fully parried, so that works out pretty well for me. And Mr. Krabs gets to level 43 and tries to learn Shell Smash. That is excellent. So I'm going to forget... I can't forget Cut, so I have to forget Rock Smash for now. I'll relearn that later, maybe on another Mon. And out comes Shiftry, another Pokemon that's times 4 weak to Bug, so I'm going to decide to stay in here. And I want to Shell Smash, but I think it'd be safer just to go straight for the X-Scissor, because otherwise I pretty much have to stay in with Mr. Krabs since I'd be taking extra damage that way. So in comes Zweilious, which is another Pokemon that's weak to Bug. I figure I can just outspeed it and do a bunch of damage with X-Scissor, and I do quite a bit of damage as he crits me with Dragon Rush, which probably didn't matter. I'm not too sure what to take this thing out with, but I figure Enigma can do the job as long as he doesn't Hyper Potion. So I go straight for the Stone Edge. Luckily, no Hyper Potion emerges, and I'm able to take him out. That was my only thing that outsped him, so that's why I did that. Skuntank is showing its face, and I've decided to go into Kaylee because I figure I can take 1 hit. Typically, Skuntank only has like Flamethrower at this level and like a Dark Moon, Night Slash. So I figure I can take either of those hits pretty well and kill it with a super effective Earthquake, which I am able to do, so that ends up being a good matchup for me, and I gain a lot of experience from that, and I'm able to defeat Maidalis. So honestly, not too bad of a battle. Next up, we've got Neved, who is another member of Team Zen. He's the Warden, and he leads with Weavile against Mr. Krabs. So I'm just going to go straight for the Shell Smash. As he goes for Ice Shard, pretty fortunate for me because that's a pretty weak move. And since my defense is still at maximum at this point, I really don't take much from that. So now I can just go for X Scissor, and he doesn't Ice Shard this turn, which is obviously a misplay because this would be your one opportunity to actually get damage off. So he's going into Barbarical here, and I decided to stay in just to see how much damage I can get on this. I go straight for the X Scissor since it's my strongest attack to hit this thing with, and it does less than half. And he goes for Razor Shell and is able to kill me, which is pretty unfortunate. So this Barbarical is looking very bulky, and the fact that it's a high level doesn't make it any easier to deal with. So I'm going to go into Courtney here and click Thunder Wave. I should be able to live a hit, and I am. He gets a defense drop, but that doesn't really matter. Courtney's just here to get a Thunder Wave off, make this thing easier to deal with. Go for Discharge. It is super effective. It does a bit of damage. This thing's looking pretty bulky, though. So down goes Courtney, and I'm able to bring out pretty much anything to finish this thing off. I decide that I will go into Kaylee. Pretty easy play. Go for Earthquake. Doesn't miss. Very powerful. No chance of him living that. And I gain a level 2, so pretty good there. Level 44. Trying to learn Explosion, which is definitely better than Self-Destruct, so pretty easy decision there. He's going to bring out Gastrodon, which is definitely an annoying Pokemon for this team to deal with, since it doesn't have a grass move at this time. So in comes Gastrodon, and I'm just going to have to Hypnosis it and just hopefully 1v1 it with Enigma. Enigma's my best chance because it has decent special defense. So I go for the Psychic here. It does not a whole lot, but luckily this thing doesn't have leftovers, and it looks like this could be a 3-hit KO depending on rolls. Another good roll, looks like 3-hit KO is imminent, and he doesn't wake up, so I'm able to 3-hit KO this Gastrodon without it doing any damage to my team. Pretty fortunate there. So he's going to bring in Auroros, and Ice moves are pretty threatening to my remaining Golems, so I'm not sure if I want to bring them out. And it is a special attacker, so it's pretty much going to knock them down to Sturdy if it does use an Ice move. So I decided to just stay in here. That way I don't just go down to Sturdy and die to Hail. And I am going to go for the Stone Edge, so that as I end up outspeeding this thing, which is pretty fortunate for me. So he goes for Freeze Dry. Luckily that's, I'm not a water type, so that's not going to be super strong against me. I'm able to take it pretty well. And a second Stone Edge should be able to take him out, depending on rolls. And luckily I do get the roll I need. And Auroros goes down. Next he's sending out Frostlass. So, Frostlass. This thing could definitely outspeed me in Shadow Ball, but I'm not sure if it will be able to or not, and now is the time to see, because I feel like Enigma's done enough work this battle to where, I'm willing to test to see if it's fast or not, which it's not. He's able to take me out with the Shadow Ball, but that's fine. I can go into Amy here just to weaken this thing in case this guy has another threatening Mon. But unfortunately, Hail is going to be pretty annoying here because it's going to break my Sturdy, so I ended up pretty much just wasting a turn of Hail there, which is fortunate in that this thing probably has Snow Cloak, so it's best to get rid of the Hail now. And now that the Hail is gone, I can live with Sturdy, and I don't have a great chance of missing with Rock Blast. It's just 90 accuracy. Unfortunately, he does have Curse Body instead of Snow Cloak, which is fine. I am able to get 3 hits off, even though that move does get disabled. I do have the Earthquake to hopefully finish this thing off, but he does have a Hyper Potion. Pretty annoying that he has that, but it is what it is. He's going to be able to take me out with Ice Beam, and I'm going to have to probably lose another Pokemon fighting this guy. So here comes my last Graveler, and he knocks it to 1 HP. So it depends on whether Kaylee can pull this one out. My last Pokemon, I get a crit on the second hit, which wouldn't have mattered if I got a third hit, but obviously a crit there helps. I get to level 45, and he is defeated. Luckily that was his last Pokemon, so just barely coming out with one Pokemon left with 1 HP. Next up, we have Mellier. We are fighting her on a boat. Enigma Mellier sent out Fortitude. Kind of interesting. So her team has a lot of dark Pokemon on it, I realize that. So leading with Mr Krabs was pretty helpful because I can just Shell Smash here, outspeed this thing, kill it with the Next Scissor, and it actually goes for Nasty Plot, which is pretty fortunate for me. Not doing any damage to Mr Krabs, letting him maintain Sturdy. So I go straight for the X Scissor, take this thing out, no problem there. and we'll see what Pokemon he wants to send out next. In comes Faith, which I believe is a Yanmega, so pretty fortunate for me. I can just go for Feint Attack. Unfortunately, I forgot Rock Slide on accident. I was trying to get rid of Cut, but then, you know, it's an HM move, so I couldn't get rid of it. And I accidentally forgot Rock Slide instead of Feint Attack, so that was pretty bad for me. But anyways, it is what it is. I go into Amy here on the Ancient Power, and I can just send out a Rock Blast as I get taken down with a Bug Buzz, and he was just Death Fodder anyways. This thing is time for weak to Rock, so with Sturdy still intact, being able to take a hit and retaliate with Rock Blast should do a ton. He goes for the Bug Buzz, knocks me down to 1 HP due to a crit, and Rock Blast is looking like a 3-hit KO if I can get 3 hits, and I do get 3 hits. Very helpful there. Definitely needed that, otherwise the thing would be way more of a problem than it should have been. And in comes Diligence, which I remember being a Pupitar. So, I'm trying to think of what I have to take this on. I could go into the other Graveler, which is what I choose to do, in case I need to save that other one for Death Fodder later. The Pupitar comes out, and I'm able to just bulldoze. Or Earthquake, rather, I mean. And I'm able to take this thing out in 1 hit. Pretty lucky there. Pretty fortunate, rather. And he's about to send in Happiness, which I know is his Togekiss. I figure his Togekiss won't have much to hit Enigma with, because typically they just have, you know, like Flamethrower, Aura Beam, and then like whatever else. So I'm able to just outspeed him, go for the Hypnosis, and now I'm able to threaten him with some Stone Edges. But first, I'm going to Cosmic Power. That way I can ensure that the next Pokemon he sends out won't be too much of a threat to me. And I'll also be able to take this thing out without worrying. So I get 2 Cosmic Powers up, increasing my defense and special defense by 2 stages, doubling them basically. I go for the 3rd one, as he's asleep right now, but he does wake up. Goes for Air Slash, doesn't do much at all. So I'm able to put him back asleep. And I'm going to continue to set up on this thing, because I know it doesn't have anything to hit me with. You know, those moves I mentioned, Aura Sphere, Air Slash, Flamethrower, none of those really do much to this thing. And I think its last move is Metronome. So that's another, you know, move that's probably not going to do a lot to Enigma unless he gets lucky. So he does wake up here. He goes to Aura Sphere. Again, very little damage there, especially since I boosted up so much. So I'm able to put him asleep yet again with Hypnosis. Luckily, I'm actually hitting these. And at 1 more Cosmic Power, I'll be at +6. That's the highest defense and special defense I can get at the moment. So I figure it'd be a smart idea to heal up a little bit. That way I can take on the rest of his team, hopefully, for our team. So I go and use a potion, because I know this thing can't really do 20 damage or more to me at a time. And it wakes up, goes for Metronome, gets Egg Bomb, does almost no damage. So I'm going to attempt to put this thing asleep again, as I miss. It's kind of expected after hitting 3. He goes for Metronome again, hits Heat Crash. Again, a resisted move, does 2 damage. Go for Hypnosis again, I miss again. It's getting kind of annoying at this point. Goes for Metronome again, goes for Karate Chop. 4 damage. I go for Hypnosis again, I miss again. It's 4th time in a row. Pretty annoying. Goes for Roleplay. Copies my Levitate when he's already a flying Pokemon, so not very smart there. Finally get to put this thing asleep. And now I'm going to go and use another potion. Get Enigma back up to more health, since I know this thing really can't do anything to me, as it immediately wakes up and goes for Metronome again and gets Sweet Scent, lowering my evasion. So pretty annoying here. I'm going to attempt to put this thing asleep again, as I luckily do put it to sleep. At this point, I'm just fed up with not being able, like, just not attacking this thing and just having it continuously wake up and bother me. So I'm just going to take it out, since I'm at +6 defense and special defense. Wakes up, goes for Metronome, gets Fury Attack, 1 damage each. It can hit 2 to 5 times. Hits 3 times, pretty reasonable. Does 3 damage. I'll put him back to sleep, since I know I can't kill him with another Psychic. And this way I avoid taking more damage. And if he did dodge the Hypnosis and hit me, then I could always just Hypnosis again and then maybe heal up, depending on how much he hit me for. But, you know, I'm here 11 HP below my maximum, and he's going to send out another Pokemon once I take that one out. So it is a Gardevoir. It is his last. Stone Edge hits his physical side, which is the easier side which makes it easier to deal with. Shadow Ball doesn't do much despite it being super effective since I am at +6, but it is doing enough to where it threatens me, so I am going to put it to sleep with Hypnosis. Unfortunately, I miss, and Moonblast does a lot, so I'm just going to go for Stone Edge again. Luckily, I get a crit here. I just wanted to get as much damage as I could, that way the remaining members of my team could beat it if it came down to it. So I know Psychic from this range will take it out even though it's resisted. I do get a crit, which doesn't really matter. I'm able to take out this Pokemon and take out this trainer in the process. And the other Graveler learns Explosion. Very nice. So, next up, we actually find a shiny Onyx. I was just in here training, trying to get another Probopass, and I find a shiny Onyx. Very cool. Super excited about this. Unfortunately, Onyx isn't the best mon. As I mentioned earlier in my run, I'm really not a fan of this thing. But it is really fortunate to find. I go for a cut, knock it down to half HP. It does get burned by the field, but luckily I have a few more turns to where I can throw, Pokeballs at it and try to catch it. Great Ball. And I'm able to not catch it because it pops out, so not too worried about this thing dying from the field though, because I do have a good amount of turns left. And it's only taking a little bit from the field. I do have Dusk Balls that I can use if it comes down to it since I am in a cave. I throw another Great Ball. This thing doesn't have the best capture rate, but luckily I'm able to catch it there. It never loses direction when it's tunneling. Let's see, what should I name this thing? I'll name him Omar. Omar the Onyx. And that, let's look at him for a second. So he's shiny, adamant nature. That's actually pretty good nature for him, especially if I wanted to make him a Steelix. Unfortunately, the Steelix is not a Rockmon, so that's crazy. I got a nice nature. So next up we have the Water Gym leader, Valerie. And as you'd expect, her team is just absolutely nightmarish for a rock team. But I did catch another Probopass. Nosepass, sorry. This one actually has Sturdy, that way I'm able to paralyze this first Mon. And my thought process here is if I'm able to paralyze this thing, I should be able to set up the Shell Smashes with my Crustal, and if he doesn't get fully parried, I can always live with Sturdy. So that's my thought process here. If I can get enough Shell Smashes with Crustal, I should be able to sweep. I do need a lot of Shell Smashes though, since I know he has really bulky Mons, like Milotic and well, even Lapras is pretty bulky, so gotta get pretty lucky here and get a few Shell Smashers off. So I go for the first Shell Smash here. Get up to +2. So he goes for the Tidal Wave, and he's able to knock me down to Sturdy. So I'm just going to do what I got to do here, go for another Shell Smash, because I know that with just one, I'm not going to be able to take out his team, and this is probably my best chance of winning, considering my Gravelers are ×4 weak to water. The only other thing I have is a Lunatone, which can't really, 1v1 this guy. So he does get fully parried once, and here I decide to go for X-Scissor, because I figure at +2 I might be able to sweep him, as he gets fully paralyzed again. So I know he's going to go for the Hyper Potion here, which is perfect for me, because I can just go for the Shell Smash. First I go for the X-Scissor, which I guess I should have just gone for the Shell Smash in the first place. But this does knock him back down to red HP. Knowing that he's going to go for Hyper Potion again, I'm able to just Shell Smash. And now Crustal is posing a huge threat to this guy's team. At +6, speed, special attack, and attack, I should be able to just destroy everything with X-Scissor. So X-Scissor right here into the Politoed, taken out in one hit. He's going to send out Lantern here. Lantern is more bulky on the physical side, on the special side. So I know I should be able to take it out with an X-Scissor. I think I can anyways, and I am able to take it out luckily. That's 2 Pokemon down. As Graveler gains another level. He goes into Lapras here. This is one of the more bulky ones. But I figure I can still take it out with X-Scissor. Stab X-Scissor pretty strong. And it is. +6. Mr. Krabs coming through. So out comes Rotom Wash. Gonna go straight for the X-Scissor yet again. And yet again this thing goes clean down. Very fortunate for me. So now he only has 2 left. His Milotic. This is where I was pretty worried because I know Milotic is so bulky. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to take this thing out. But to my surprise, I actually am able to take it out in one hit. +6 Crustal, just putting the team on his back like he does. And lastly is his Slowbro, and you know he's weak to X-Scissor, so pretty easy win there, surprisingly. Had to get pretty lucky for that one, honestly. I was pretty worried at first. Looks like I've been washed away, so I'm able to take out the Water Gym Leader there with quite a bit of luck. And I get the Dewdrop badge. And HM3 Surf, that's going to really help later on. Now we're off to the jungle. Now we are against Executive Zeta, the Team Zen guy. Zen Executive Zeta. He leads Absol. Luckily there's a lot of dark Pokemon on this run, which pretty much makes my Crustal very helpful because Bug just destroys these things. I do have a Corsola now, and it just gets 2-hit KO'd. I just use it for surfing mostly. It's not the most useful Pokemon. I know that Mr. Krabs should be able to take a hit pretty well since he's pretty bulky, and probably set up a Shell Smash, but I don't want to bring him in too early, so I'm just going to go straight into Jimmy for now. And go for the Earthquake, as Night Slash is not even close to a 2-hit KO, so pretty good for me. I'm able to 2-hit KO him before he 2-hit KOs me. Pretty easily taken down, as he goes into Chestnut. Being that I'm ×4 weak to this thing, I want to get out pretty quick, so in comes Enigma. I can threaten him with Psychic, as he ends up being a Shadow Pokemon. Not too good for me, but I'm just going to click Psychic anyways, do as much damage as I can, as I'm able to do quite a bit of damage. Goes for Needle Arm, doesn't do much at all, surprisingly. And I'm able to 2-hit KO with Psychic. Luckily this thing wasn't too high of a level, only level 35. So that's probably why it wasn't as threatening as I was expecting. And in comes Roserade. This is definitely my best chance of taking it on. He goes for Mega Drain, he is able to outspeed me. And he is able to take me out. That's pretty unfortunate. I was hoping that I'd be able to outspeed him and do quite a bit of damage, but I'm not able to do that. His Roserade's at full health. And since it's it's a Poison Grass, it's not weak to Bug. So I'm going to check out my special defense here to see if I have any Pokemon that can live a hit. 82 special defense with 138 HP. I'm thinking Courtney definitely doesn't look like it can take a hit, so pretty much have to go into Graveler here and explode, because otherwise this thing's just going to be too much of a threat. So I do go for that, as he brings me to 1 HP. And we'll see how much Explosion does. Go for the Explosion, and let's see. It brings him quite low. Now I just have to finish him off, so Mr. Krabs is definitely the guy to do that. I could even set up a Shell Smash here if I wanted, which is what I decided to do. He goes for Magical Leaf instead of Giga Drain, which is smart because I think it does more damage. I'm not sure actually. I thought Magical Leaf was 60 base. And oh, does he have Mega Drain? Okay, so that would be Magical Leaf would be stronger. Because obviously he's not going to live another hit even if he does get Mega Drain health back. So I'll go for the Shell Smash, able to outspeed him afterwards and get off the X-Scissor. Take him out there. As he goes into Weavile, pretty good for me because I could just outspeed this thing. I was kind of fearing the Ice Shard, but luckily he doesn't go for it if he did have it. Even then I might have been able to take it with -1 defense. Out comes Vileplume. Again, I'm going to stay in, click X-Scissor, and it doesn't take him out, but it does do a lot. So I'm paralyzed here, but that's not too bad. He goes for Mega Drain. I might be able to take this since it only does neutral, and I am just barely able to take it. And I avoid getting fully parried, so down goes Vileplume. And that is the end of Zeta. Next up, we have Deoxys Clone. This ends up just being a Glass Cannon, very powerful mon, so I go for Hypnosis right away as he goes for Flash Cannon and just OHKOs me, so I'm like, dang, this thing is powerful. Good coverage on it too, and I know probably my best chance of taking it out is just living with Sturdy and exploding. I know if I could get a paralysis on it, I'd be able to deal with it a lot easier, but I figure it's going to come down to Sturdy anyways. So I'm trying to decide what I want to go into here. I decided to go into Jimmy. I figured an Explosion would do a ton to this thing. So that's what I ended up doing. He goes for the Shadow Ball. Even though that's not stab, it does a ton. And I'm able to explode on this thing and luckily take it out in one hit. Pretty fortunate for me. That thing goes right down. So next up, we're against Rejuvenation yet again. Only 4 Pokemon this time. He's got a Yanmega, Pokemon that times 4 weak to rock, so not too much of a threat here. I'm just going to go into Cami since this thing is pretty powerful with, Bug Buzz and all that, to just sack off. That way I can bring in a Pokemon and still maintain my sturdy and all that. So he ends up going for 2 Ancient Powers, which I'm actually able to live pretty luckily, but I missed my Rock Blast, so once again, Corsola does nothing. As he decides to make a risky play, goes for his Supersonic, which could miss. It could, cause me not to get hurt myself in confusion, but it works out for him, and he's able to take me out. Luckily, he goes for Uproar here. Knowing that he's going to continuously use this move, I'm pretty safe to just go into any of my Rock Pokemon and take him out, and not going for one of his more threatening moves. So pretty helpful there. He goes for Uproar yet again on Jimmy, only doing 34 damage as I go for a Rock Blast, and I miss. So pretty annoyed here. Missing 2 Rock Blasts in a row, but it is what it is. He goes for another Uproar, doing a bit more damage there. And I'm able to get 3 hits and take him out. One did 38, the first one did 34. Jimmy gains a level, so he's level 47 now. He's going to send out Wormadam here. I know this thing's part bug, so I should be able to do a lot of damage with Rock Blast. So that's what I go for. Rock Blast does 1, 2, get a crit, very nice. Only 2 hits, but one of them is a crit, so it's able to knock him down to a pretty low amount of health. I decide that Courtney could probably take this thing on, since Courtney has decent bulk. He could probably take 2 Razor Leafs if it comes down to it, and possibly take this thing out with a Power Gem. So that's what I decided to go for. Takes those 2 Razor Leafs pretty nicely. This Wormadam seems pretty weak, honestly, as you'd expect. Gain a little bit of experience here, and he's going to bring out a Selgor, another Pokemon that is weak to rock, so pretty fortunate for me. I'm able to go into Kaylee, since she's nice and bulky and at full health. Just go straight for the Rock Blast as he goes for Mega Drain. Pretty threatening move there. Wasn't sure if he'd have a grass move. I know they learned that this thing learns grass moves, but I didn't know if he'd have one or not. So I go for the Rock Blast. It looks like it's going to be a 3-hit KO. I hit twice, and I hit 3 times. Very nice. I'm able to take out the Selgor. Lastly, he's got Vivillon. I'm going to go straight into Enigma here. And just like before, this thing ends up being a Shadow Pokemon. Still a Shadow Pokemon. I'm not going to catch it, of course, because it's not a Rock Pokemon. So go straight for the Stone Edge. Do a ton of damage as he goes for Shadow Rush. Doesn't do too much damage. And here I can just finish him off with Psychic. This time, Grim wasn't nearly as threatening as last time. Last time he almost swept me, but this time I'm able to take him out with, relative ease, to be honest. A lot of rock weak Pokemon on a rock, against a rock team, turns out pretty well for me. So that's it with him. Next up we have Ren yet again. Ren, he was such a bother last time. I can't imagine him being much easier this time. So he leads with Sableye as I lead with Courtney. I'm just going to go straight for the Thunder Wave as he goes for Mean Look. It's fine with me as long as I get a Thunder Wave on this thing. This thing is such a pain, so being able to possibly prevent it from attacking is definitely what I want. It does have Prankster, however, so that paralysis might not seem like, the most significant thing, but it's more of just being able to stop this thing from always attacking and, just being annoying in general. So I'm going to attempt to switch out here, but I believe I'm still under Mean Look, so I cannot switch out. I have to stay in, just do as much damage as I can. As he goes for Thunder Wave, this is going to be a pretty stally, annoying battle, because I'm not too powerful, and he's not too powerful either, so we're just going to be paralyzing each other and just sitting here. Luckily, he gets fully parried here, and I'm going to go for the the Power Gem, doing a good amount of damage, in all honesty. But he's just going to Hyper Potion right back up, so this is going to be one of those kind of stall wars for a little bit. This Power Gem doesn't look like it's doing much, especially after Leftovers recovery. It's looking like maybe 15% at most, more like 10%, somewhere around there, 10 to 15%. As he's going to go for the annoying Confuse Ray. I hurt myself in Confusion. So bothersome. This Pokemon is no fun to fight against. So he goes for Shadow Claw. I snap out of Confusion. Go for the Power Gem. Do a good amount of damage there. Looks like I got a higher roll. Another Shadow Claw. Looks like I'm able to take 2 more, probably, as I get a crit with Power Gem, but he might just Hyper Potion again. In a way, it's helpful that he wastes Hyper Potions, but I would really just like this thing to be taken down if he ends up even going for one. So I don't hurt myself in confusion. I am able to get off another Power Gem, but I only bring him to red health, so he is able to Hyper Potion here and just be a general nuisance as I get fully parried. So he gets fully parried. I'm still confused. I'm able to get off a Power Gem, luckily, doing a little bit of damage, decent amount. He luckily gets fully parried again. He's pretty much getting a taste of his own medicine. As I hurt myself in confusion, not much has been done here, just a little bit of damage. So he's able to gain more lefties, so not too good for me. It still looks like I can live a Shadow Claw, as I am able to do, live with 6 HP, and I don't hit myself in confusion, so I'm able to get off more damage, bringing him to around 70% health, I want to say. And he's able to take me out with a Shadow Claw finally, but I have weakened him a little bit. I've gotten rid of a few a few Hyper Potions. So this is pretty favorable for me. I'm going to send in Kaylee the Graveler, pretty powerful. I can definitely threaten this thing with Earthquake. So that's what I'm going to go for as he goes for Mean Look, which is pretty good for me. I'm able to do a ton with Earthquake to the point where he cannot heal up safely, and he just ends up getting fully parried as he presumably goes for Confuse Ray. So luckily he got fully parried there, because that could have been pretty annoying. He goes straight into Greninja, another super threatening Pokemon, as you'd expect from a very powerful water Pokemon. I'm just going to be staying in here to do as much damage as I can before going down. I'm going to go straight for the Explosion, as he goes for Dark Pulse instead of, like a water move. Doesn't really make much of a difference. I mean, Dark Pulse had a chance to flinch 20%, so I guess that's an okay play. As luckily I'm able to take him out with the Explosion. Greninja is not the bulkiest, so that is the reason why. And on the double down, I'm contemplating what Pokemon to go out into. I decide Mr. Krabs is a pretty good matchup since he's got a lot of dark Pokemon, as he goes straight into Scrafty, which is pretty much what I like to see. I go for the X-Scissor, get a little bit of damage, as he goes for Swagger, and he misses. So I'm just going to go for X-Scissor again, get more damage here. Almost bring him, it looks like I might bring him in range of a third X-Scissor, so I go for the third X-Scissor as it doesn't take him out. He goes for High Jump Kick, and he crits me, but I live with 4 HP, and he doesn't Hyper Potion again. So I'm able to take out his Scrafty, definitely one of the biggest threats he had left on his team. Next comes Houndoom. I know Jimmy can take this thing on pretty well, but I'm not sure if I want to sack this thing sturdy. I realize I don't have much of a choice though, so I pretty much have to go into this, click Earthquake, and watch this thing die. He goes for Dark Pulse. He doesn't flinch me, and he's taken out with Earthquake. So Jimmy had to take a lot of damage for that, but it is what it is. Next up is Haunch Crow. I stay in here, maybe not the best play if he had Moxie, but he does go for Night Slash here. He's able to take me out with a crit. The crit didn't really matter, I don't think, as he doesn't have Moxie, luckily, so pretty fortunate for me. I'll send in Cammy since I might as well give her a chance to do something, and I'm just going to end up healing up another Pokemon, that way I'm able to fight this guy. Decided to use a Hyper Potion to ensure my victory with Mr. Krabs. As Haunch Crow just goes for another Night Slash. Easy 2-hit KO. And I will just go straight for the Rock Blast as he, gets the 2-hit KO with Night Slash. So in comes Mr. Krabs. So I'm able to Shell Smash up as he goes for the Swagger. So that's pretty scary. Definitely a way to stop a sweep is with Swagger. So I do get the Shell Smash off instead of getting hurting myself with confusion, but at this point I don't really want to take the risk of trying to sweep while confused, because if I hit myself in confusion I'm going to be doing a ton and then I'll pretty much lose the battle. So I'm going to have to use my full heal right here to get rid of that confusion. That is what I go for. As he goes for Thunder Wave, so this guy's just being annoying. I guess all his Pokemon just want to be, Swagger T-Wave kind of thing. Aerial Ace does a ton, but luckily he doesn't go for the Confuse Ray. I'm able to crit him with X-Scissor. Probably didn't matter since it was at +2, and luckily this guy finally goes down. So this is going to be the end of episode 15. If you want to see more, feel free to subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.